Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Benefactor at Chaotic Neutral Games. I'm Simon, your DM for tonight, as I join Corinne, Felicia, and Nick with their adventures in Illyria. Don't forget that you can help or indeed hinder. Check out the options in the chat bar below. You can join our wonderful community by hitting the Discord link in the channel notes, or you can support us in what we do by becoming a subscriber. So, with no further ado, let's get started with episode 141 of the Benefactor. Welcome back and welcome to our players. We are down to Kate today, but we are going to be pressing on with the story with our cantankerous Tabaxi, our now mostly dragon tiefling, and our Genasi, our water Genasi cleric, Farewell. So, when we left off last session, you guys had returned back from collecting the last of the canopic jars on the path to find the heart of Juradan. You now have a large task ahead of you to raise an army to attack the Golden City, a city that has been moved into a pocket dimension, out of time and space, where you are to anticipate that some of the devils that were caught up when it was pocketed away will still be in the city. Perhaps even some humans, generations later, because it's been hundreds upon hundreds of years, could be existing there. I say humans, mortals, lots of different races, so that you can get to the throne room of Juradan the Great to free his undying body from the curse that was beset upon him when the city was put into this dimension. You know that whatever you find when you get there is going to be arduous. You're going to need good troops, good commanders, and this in a way is probably a good setup for you finding the troops and finding the leaders to defend Ostergold when finally the architect will attack the city. But before that, you came back to the Green Mansion in somewhat of a disarray. You came in, no problem at all to start with, and then something attacked a bunch of the employees. You went upstairs, and strange shadow assassins were trying to take out Renata Green. Renata was shook up. You know that she is quite possibly the last chronomancer, although Farewell is now starting to learn, and being that she's very strong in chronomancy, so much so that you suspect her to be very, very old, she is capable of anticipating things happening. And yet she got attacked and didn't see it coming. You're now sat in Renata's study with a very, very scared and confused Renata. You're sat there as you start to talk out how possibly this could have happened.
Also the fact that Lilith recognizes her, but she does not recognize Lilith.
Another detail. Karnitava, the former devil, now with a soul, now going by the mortal name Lilith, is with you, and she swears blind that she recognizes Renata Green. So, the Green Mansion now is starting to calm down. At least everybody apart from Renata. She's sat on the sofas in front of the fire. You've been here many times before where she's always been in control. Even if not in control of you, just in control of her own situation. She's sat there now, this elegant, well-spoken woman, incredibly powerful, incredibly influential. But now that you see her just sat in the sofa, you notice how slight she is. How, with the pale skin and the dusting of freckles on her cheeks, long flowing curls, ginger curls going down her back, she seems vulnerable. And this is where we time in, because that's exactly where we got to last session. She turns and says, No, you don't understand. I'm capable of checking my knowledge against my own personal time stream. Even if somebody had altered my memories, I would be able to go back and check my memories, and there would be some sort of difference. Now, don't get me wrong, there are times in my life which I don't remember as well as others, but if what she goes to say, Karnatavran says, what Lilith is saying here is that I was a fully grown woman, I would have remembered that.
Unless you chose not to.
Could have been yes. Could have been something that you did to protect yourself.
Remember that if even a single person knows something, it can be found through legend lore. It is fully possible that you forgot that part in order to ensure that it couldn't be discovered.
Yeah. If you knew everything about the Golden City, you could have deliberately erased that from your memory to protect it until the right person came along.
You've grown. All of you. You're right. Legend lore, there are more ways than one. You can know something and hide it from legend lore. It's just a very specific ritual to make sure that it's not part of the record that legend lore checks. But no, I guess it's possible I chose to obscure it for myself. That would mean that I would have to not just carve it out of my memory, but also put something in place so that when I checked that period of time, I wouldn't be able to see anything at that point. I suppose I could do that. I can use Karnitava and her recent re-emergence to tag a place in time. Then after that I would just have to cast back a few weeks and check over those weeks to make sure that my memories match where I was at that time. I still think this is probably a waste of time.
It will give us an answer either way.
Okay. Let's relocate to the map table. Across from the kind of coffee area alcove you've seen before is a kind of round table, and it's normally you see it covered in maps or papers, or you've seen scholars reading at that desk, and sometimes you've come into scholars arguing over that desk. Seems to be like a small forum table. She pulls the chairs forward, obviously not physically, she just does that with her hands, and she says, "Please, take a seat." As you take a seat, she taps the table, and the very heavily polished, like glass, it's wood, but it's polished to the point where it looks like glass. the polish in the table, suddenly the grain of the wood disappears and a ritual circle rises out from the depths like coming out of a magic 8-ball. And you have a feeling, Glory, that Renata probably has several ritual circles scribed into this table.
Yep.
And she says,
That would not surprise me.
this is the ritual that I would normally use to look back in time. If you wish, I could take you on the journey and maybe you'll be able to make sense of something that I don't see.
Oh, yes, please. I always.
So she points out that this is a modified circle. You don't have to be standing on it. You just have to place your hands upon it. So much like a seance, you put your hands on the table. You can feel this buzzing. All three of you are capable of casting magic. You can feel this buzz, this connection, almost like you're completing a circuit. Karnatava stands back and leans against the wall. And Renata takes a look at it and says, if you wish, you may partake. And Lilith kind of looks at it and says, well, I suppose I am the focal point. Are you sure you don't have a problem casting magic with an infernal? Renata looks at her with a certain amount of empathy. Lilith looks ashamed right now. And in kind of coming back to the old Renata, she goes, well, I've been doing magic with Glory for years now. And gestures to a chair. Lilith sits down, kind of raises an eyebrow at Glory, and as if to say, oh, how rude kind of thing. But she does it playfully. And Renata says, please, put your hands on the table, clear your mind. When I connect with you, let it happen. She places her own hands on the table, and as she does so, the ritual circle on the table starts to writhe and throb under your fingertips. As the power that comes from Renata passes through you, you realise it far exceeds your own. To the point where, as I say, when you feel the power kind of going into your fingertips, it's like a throb. Boom, boom, boom. She focuses and says, for anybody other than Farewell, this may be a somewhat rough ride. And at that point, everything just gets pulled away from your senses. There's this sudden pop and squeal in your ears. You are acutely aware of the fact that you were tasting your mouth. And once that sensation gets taken away, to the point where for a moment you can still feel your tongue against your teeth, but you can no longer taste your mouth. It's really, really weird. And then the sensation of that goes away as well. Your scent pretty much goes straight away, and immediately your eyes start to... It's like looking into a powerful light and then looking away and having the after effect. Just the image in front of your eyes just... like suddenly switching off a TV set. What do you then see?
Helps.
Say that again, Nick?
Oh, no.
No, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh. Remember, don't sit on the floor and exhale through your nose and you're fine. Just control breathing in through the mouth, out through the nose, in through the mouth, out through the nose.
You suddenly find yourself seeing the city. Before you start moving through space, you start moving through time. And you watch as the city almost dissolves. It dissolves into lots of different kind of forms. Suddenly the walls disappear. It becomes just like a kind of a large village, kind of port town. And it starts just shriveling down in size until it's kind of a shanty town. As soon as you've been able to see this strange, anachronistic reversal of the city, your eyes get pulled to the point where you fill in the inertia and you almost feel like your eyes are rattling around in your head. But suddenly you snap to and realize, no, this is fine. The land hurtles underneath you, getting faster and faster until it's a blur. And you find yourself in front of just grasslands, some woods, and this mountain. You know it well from maps, and you know that the one side of it is a big kind of scree slope, where some sort of earth movement just brought down all of the rocks in a giant avalanche. And you watch as trees grow in, backwards, in high speed. Other trees suddenly kind of just crop up where they've clearly fallen, but now you're going backwards, and they start shrinking as well. It's all very surreal, almost comedic in a way. And you get to a point as the sun is just a ring in the sky. Yeah. It's neither day nor night. However, the moon is a separate silvery ring as well, and the sun has the sky is a strange dark blue. Yeah, like somebody's mixed black paint and blue paint, and they just painted it across the sky. Occasionally, there's little flickers of other colours in it, but that's pretty much it. And you're there just waiting. And then suddenly, bang, this city just appears. The landslide, you realise, happened at the same time as this. And as the landslide just goes straight back up the city, you can see that, back up the mountain, you can see that there's this beautiful palace coming out of it. Those of you who've had visions of the Golden City have seen it before.
Yes, I think we all did when we went and sat
it comes
in
out in
chairs.
many stages. You've got large, grand obelisk-like roofs held up by huge pillars. And it's called the Golden City for a reason, even though the rock around doesn't seem to be of this lovely golden colour. The city seems to be built exclusively from this. You're not sure if it's a sandstone or just has a lot of the colour of sand. But the walls, the buildings, the major architecture, palisades, things like that, are all made of this beautiful burning umber stone. And it does look for all the world like gold shining there in the sunlight. The speed at which you'd been travelling back through time, and Farewell, you suspected the visualization that you went through was basically to stop some of your brains exploding. Now it kind of slows down. The sun suddenly, just moves sluggishly through the sky. Excuse me. And you're there. You can see the city sprawling out beneath you. And sure enough, as the city generates, you find yourself pulled from the mountainside, which is where you're currently standing, down towards a building. And the building's not really. It's kind of nondescript. It's made out of the same beautiful rock, but everything is. You go into the building and then down into the depths of the building, and you can feel a sense of embarrassment. Like, not even a coquettish embarrassment, but a true embarrassment. And it seems like the type of embarrassment of, I don't know, being caught out of a hotel room naked or something like that. Being locked out of your hotel room naked. lewd embarrassment. And you realise it's because this is the point where Carnotava was about to put herself in the canopic jars. Because you go beneath the floor, and there is Carnotava, and she's speaking in Infernal to what seems to be cultists. The cultists are all female. They are all dressed as courtesans, by which I mean not leaving much to the imagination. And you have a feeling that these were the kind of succubine cultists that helped grease the wheels with a lascivious smile or a bit of favour. And she's talking to them infernal. Felicia, Glory can make out that she is just getting to the end of convincing them to do what needs to be done.
Right.
One of the concubines runs up to her and kisses her passionately on the lips, gripping her as she does so. And it's not... they're a succubine cult, but you can tell it's not a frivolous kiss. This is with some passion, but not the passion of a lover, but the passion of somebody who loves somebody else. The cultist is clearly, saying goodbye. She grips onto Carnotava incredibly hard, and then stands back. She keeps backing away, keeping her eyes on Carnotava. And just when she stops, because she hits like a dais, a stone dais, she steps back, kind of does a start, looks Carnotava in the eyes and goes, "You know I love you." And Lilith says, no, Carnotava at the time says, "I know. And you know that my love belongs to another." The girl seems to use that to fuel what needs to be done, and she snatches a kris about that long. So wavy blade kris. She snatches it up off the dais, charges forward, and plunges it not into Carnotava's heart, but into her shoulder. And she starts soaring away at Lilith. The other girls at that point, getting that moment of bloodlust, runs off and finds other weapons. There's an axe. There's like almost like a katana sword, and they come back and start hacking Carnotava to pieces. One of them, partway through this really bloody affair, goes off and grabs a box, and you can see that there are the more pristine versions of the canopic jars.
The ones that are not pieces on the floor.
Yeah, that's certainly one way of doing things. Did you really have to be awake and cognizant for that? It seems a little bit...
You can see that Carnotava is showing no signs of pain and is just staring at the ceiling as her cult is dismembering her.
Just...
Seems a bit excessive.
This is just a little over the top.
Lilith's voice appears in your head and says, "Do you honestly think I'd do this way if there was any alternative?"
No.
Her body ends up being put into braziers, and this tar fire, this thick, foul, yellowish flame erupts from all of them as the body starts to self-immolate. And from these censers, the cultists start pouring the ash into the canopic jars. The head, you've noticed, has just been left there, and it's just staring impassively at the ceiling. the canopic jars have the lids put on, and then the same, what you seem to think of as the chief cultist, she walks up to the head, and it's a little freaky that when she lifts the head up, Carnatava blinks. She lifts the head up to her head height, and she goes, "Sweet dreams," kisses the sever head on the lips, raises it up, and with a few words of Infernal, which are just ritual words, they don't actually have any meaning, the head just flashes and immolates itself to complete vapor. And at that point, you can see the jars heating up and sealing themselves.
Right.
At that point, you can hear in the back of your head Lilith saying, "Did we have to watch that?" And Renata saying, "I'm looking for where I might be. I'm struggling. I thought if we left it here, that way at least we knew to focus on you." And for those of you with enough Arcana, yeah, it was the right decision to do. We're following Carnatava is the anchor here, and so by focusing on her, you're keeping yourself in this time.
Mm.
And Renata goes, "Okay, no, I think I've got it. Yeah, I'm almost certain I've got it. Now." And the landscape shoots from underneath you, becomes a complete blur, and you find yourself on not a mountain but a very high hill. There's a beautiful looking stone cottage. You think probably some sort of herder's hut. The outbuildings and things like that around it are fairly good for that time as well. You have a feeling that this would be a pretty good dwelling. And you go and pass just through one of the windows. And sat there, just manically writing something, is a young girl. She's not a redhead. She's got bright blue eyes, blonde hair. She's got kind of a slightly darker tone of skin.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got pointed ears as well. So she's either half elf or full elf, you're not quite sure. She's sat down and stooped, and you can't quite see her face as well. You can see part of it, but you can't see the profile of it to kind of discern whether or not she's got any human in her.
Yeah.
And you can hear the muttering. And the muttering is like, okay. Yep. Where? Okay. And she opens up a drawer, picks up a hammer and nails, at which point nails are just pulled bits of metal at this point. So it's a bead of metal that's just pulled to a point, and then snapped to make two nails. And the hammer is just like a wooden mallet. Certainly what you nothing like you would use in Ostergald, where they've got proper metal tools and things like that. She grabs the piece of paper and goes up to one of the wooden struts of the house, and then holds it against there, grabs hold of the hammer and nails, and hammers it into the paper. She sits down and goes, "I'm tired now. Do I have to do anything else?" Doesn't seem to be any answer. And then, thump, she passes out on the sofa.
Right.
You can hear in the back of your head, I don't understand. I locked on me.
That's not you.
No, that isn't me. I've never had that appearance before. Most of my appearances are all...
Relative?
Well, she was talking to something in her head. Perhaps the you in this situation is you telling her to do something.
Renata goes, okay, let's take a look. And you realise that, you have a feeling she's walking towards the paper, but you all can walk around independently now. She's not like pulling you around by the wrist. You can't see each other. You can't see her. But you just get a sensation that she's going up to the paper to read it. Oh, I see.
What does it say? I go up and look.
You can see that written in quite a scrawled hand is, "This is necessary. Don't go digging. Remember, all in good time."
Yeah.
Well, it's time to dig now.
Safely dig, please. Safely. We just could do without unraveling causality.
Well, I think now, when we have discovered it, it's the right time. I really think now is the right time. Because it's been there for centuries.
No,
Hey.
no. I can read ahead. She takes it down the second that she wakes up. This is placed here just for us. This better not be me. I hate it when I'm being vague to myself.
Well,
Time to find out.
I'm about to ignore that. We better. I want to find it.
I mean, it's your shout.
Kanitava. Sorry, Lilith. How many days before the fall did your soothsayer come along? And the soothsayer says, not the soothsayer, sorry, Lilith turns and says, she came about 3 days before.
Let's go then.
And she left pretty much the day before. Renata goes, right. And suddenly, you're back in the Golden City. Where did she approach from? The east, I think? No, it was the west. The mountains to the east. She's like, okay, right. And another lurch. You notice that there's no lurching in your stomach or anything like that. Sorry, fly bothering my nose. There's no lurching in your stomach because you are literally just sat there round Renata's table in the present. And she goes, oh, this gate? And Kurosawa says, yes, I think we're a bit early, but it's this gate. And then Renata just starts making time pass quick. You watch as people comically walk at high speed down the road, and you, as far as you're capable, just chill out, bodiless, waiting for something to happen. The procession, as you can see, rounds the corner in the distance, and you can see it's a bunch of people, grey kind of robes. So, no flashy colours or anything like that, just the natural colour of the clothing. And they all start walking towards the city in this strange procession. Behind that, there's a guy with a cart who you have a feeling has like all of their travel supplies. And they're going at walking speed, taking their time. But of course, this is all sped up, so it's a little comical, seeing these little figures kind of bobbing along, a bit too rhythmically. And you notice that all of them have got hoods over their faces. You presume that Lysandra is the one in the middle, because everybody else is like parallel with the road, in two columns. And then right at the front, there's just one person. And they're thinking that maybe this is Lysandra leading from the front. She gets up close to you, and you can see very little of her. You can't see through the hood, anything like that. You can see she's quite old. She's, you can see what little of the hands you can see. Slightly swelled joints, kind of almost arthritic joints, all swelled up. And she gets to about 30 foot from you. And this voice, even though you heard it, and you heard it in your head, it doesn't matter how long from now and how much concentration you can put towards it, you'll never get to place that voice. And the voice says, "No. Not here. Not now. This will not do." You can hear a guard that's meant to be there, a tabaxi guard, go, "I beg your pardon?" And the
I'm sorry, what the fuck did you just say?
and
What the fuck?
the old figure raises her hand and just goes, and as she does so, you all get kicked out of the vision. Renata included.
Well,
Well,
It seems it was not the correct time.
Renata goes, "I did it to myself."
well, I'm glad we solved that mystery. We told you.
No,
Told you so.
You don't understand. When I do some things like this to myself, I can erase my memory, but I can't erase the memory of erasing my memory. The only way I've been able to achieve this is to do it in the future. So my previous memory gets altered. Which means I haven't done it yet. I deliberately obscure that part of history from me. Because I don't need to know about it yet.
Huh.
No, that's... No. I mean, why? If I'm seeking answers now, why would I go and do that? Normally I would decide now and in future get rid of...
Yeah,
I mean,
that doesn't seem.
Also,
to make
I already
sense.
know what the soothsayer's going to say. It's been well documented.
Yes. So why is that?
we all wait with bated breath.
Because Lilith knows. Lilith, can you recite to us what the soothsayer says?
Simon needs to bring up his Google Docs, but yes. Thank you for the pop quiz.
Uh,
I'm gonna take a moment to go refill my glass of water.
Sure. Here we go. 3.5 days before the fall, Lysandra comes to the city. But she only stayed a few hours. Sorry, I just remembered she didn't leave the day before. She left before 3 days had passed. She was literally only there for for a few hours in the city. Every holy person in the city, once they had realized that she was there, came forward to help her, to hear her. At first, she decried the end of the city, which nobody wanted to hear. Even the priests. The priests had been told by their own gods that the city was perfect. They approved of it. They protected it. They had bestowed great favor upon the Golden City. They were willing for this to be the start of a great civilization. Fell on deaf ears. Um, and also, Lysandra did have a reputation for being a doomsayer. It's just she had a reputation for being a really accurate one. Then she started speaking about the salvation of the city, which people wanted to hear a lot more. And she mentioned your Heart of Juradan. The holy folk and the crowd that had gathered started cheering and applauding, thinking that she was declaring that the city would be saved by Juradan. That was a prophecy that they were willing to accept. She cried out and started imploring the holy folk to listen and said, no, this is not the case. But the crowd had made up their mind by then. She gave up and made to leave. As everybody left, her prophecy, or prophesizing being over, there were a few people that went and spoke to her. I wasn't one of them. I was busy. She entrusted a few with some information. The in nature of the heart. The heart is the work of the gods entrusted to heroes who will face a great evil. The heart will be sewn into the very fabric of reality, forged in time and space, to exist and persist by the will of all gods. It shall awaken a god lost to Illyria and call it back to the heavens.
Oh.
Juradan shall not know the heart when he sees it, but will name the heart once he recognizes it. Juradan will fight using the heart against a great evil, and it shall be his last battle.
Ooh,
Once
we do
used,
know that.
the heart shall no longer be owned. Not by Juradan, nor any other.
Oh. Okay, that's more information about the heart than anyone has had, so that's great.
Lilith kind of sits back and goes, sorry, I thought you knew it all.
Well, I know more than most, but we've never had a description of what it actually is. Now, that is more of a description I've had any. Now, that is also very vague. It could be anything.
Yeah, you give things out to players piecemeal. You don't give them the whole farm.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So I will put it all in the chat.
Yes, please.
So
The heart is a work of God's entrusted heroes who will face great evil. And apparently will awaken a god. All was spawned with repair fabric forged in time and space to exist and persist by the will of the gods. It shall awaken a god lost to her lair and call it back to the heavens. Jordan shall not know the heart when he sees it, but will name the heart once he recognizes it. Jordan will fight with the heart against the great evil, and it shall be his last battle. Once used, the heart should no longer be owned, not by Jordan or any other.
The heart was never meant for when the city fell. It's for now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's for now.
I think you're very right there. I think you hit the nail on the head.
I have a feeling the heart might be a person.
Oh god, Eclipse is the heart.
No.
Well, we did speculate that a long time ago.
I don't think it's me. If anyone's heart, the heart of Jordan, it'd be Lilith.
I had his heart. I don't think he's ever described me as his heart, and he's seen me before, and he's never named me as heart. Or did he? Did he ever actually say, my heart? He
But
was
you'd know
not
better than
that.
us.
He was not that romantic a person. Not in that sense. He had his own way. No, I don't think he ever said that I was his heart. He said I was his love, that I was to be his wife, that I was his soulmate, that I was his future. But he never called me his heart.
No, then it's probably something or someone else.
But yes, I sent out some people looking for the heart. Once I saw that the city was to fall, arcanists, amazing researchers, they were allowed to leave the city before the city fell. I don't know what they found. They were to report back to me once the prophecy had, well, my prophecy had been finished and I was whole again. They were to come back to me and tell me in a way, I guess they're the ones that laid the path.
Must have. Were these the people we saw in the first vision?
The first vision. Oh.
With the ladies.
Oh. Yes. Well, I am the patron saint. Did you know that you could have saints for sins as well?
Yeah.
I'm the patron saint of lust.
Oh.
Or was. I should imagine I've been dethroned in that title since, and it's been handed to one of the others. But I was the patron saint of, women who consider it their career to know the artistry of pleasure.
Patron sense of okay. I'm trying to come up with a polite word. I'm failing.
Emphatic entertainers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So behind courtesans and seamstress houses was me. I kept them safe. After all, they provided hell with a number of impure souls, even though many of them did not find their way into hell. A lot of them, in fact, didn't find their way into hell. They, after all, were just plying a trade. Lust in itself, not necessarily a sin, more a natural part of life. Have I mentioned? Yes, I have. There are a finite number of succubi. We were all created at the same time. No one can become a succubi down in the pit. We are a limited number, and we were all created at exactly the same time. We are a primal devil, I guess you would call us.
I did not know that.
Lust is a sensation. Neither good nor bad. It's what people do with lust. Much like a weapon. An axe can cut down a tree and help you make something, or go on a fire and keep you warm through the night. Or it can be used to lop a man's head off. Lust is kind of the same. It has its place. If it's left to run amok, it becomes chaotic. In the minds of some, it spurs them to great evil. But that doesn't change what it is. Just part of nature. Primal instinct. So I ended up feeding from the more powerful side of things. But I never lost that part of it, I guess. I never lost the balance. Not a lot of devils themselves can be considered particularly evil. More following a set of rules that are against good. If you have to follow the rules, are you really evil? I mean, that's...
Yes. Cool motive, still murder.
Yeah. But my point is that compared to your ravaging demons, you can at least have a civil conversation with the devil. But anyway, I'm not technically either anymore. I'm not entirely sure what I am.
Welcome to the club.
But yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I hold up my hand for a high five. Come on.
To who?
Come on. It's just in the air. This is farewell. It's just in the air.
He wants
Come
someone
on.
to high five. I high five him back, even though I'm completely normal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Lilith kind of goes,
Still works.
"Oh, sorry, that's what you wanted." And she'd never seen a high five before.
No.
Never seen a high five. It is one of the 9 circles of the hells. Come on.
She's very old and has been stuck in limbo in a canopic jar for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
She's older than high fives. And she goes, "Well, okay. Yes, so those ladies were my disciples, I suppose. They kept everything in balance. I mean, I could pretty much be a benevolent force on Earth, within reason, and still feed hell just by putting the temptation in front of people. What they do with it is them. And she struggles to find the word and goes, a litmus test. I served hell perfectly well in that capacity. And remember, hell has rules. I can't take an innocent. Well, I couldn't take an innocent. I wonder if that... No. Best not to think about that right now. But anyway, aren't you also worried about the fact that you didn't see this this attack coming? At which point Renata snaps in and goes, "Yes, thank you very much for reminding me about that."
Children.
Now, I don't foresee everything. It's difficult to foresee everything. When I pick a future that I want to go towards, I see the significant parts of that thread. I can't live through it all. I have to do that the slow way. But I can focus on certain things and say, if I go down this timeline, will the Duke die? Or will the city fall? Or will my house still be standing? And I will see either my house standing, the city fallen, or the Duke dead. If I don't ask the question, I don't see it. If I don't consider the question, I don't see it. Because you can't take in that much information. Even I cannot take in that much information. So I just make sure I have all the requirements for a particular timeline, and then I go looking for it. And then I go backwards and look at all the turning points.
Limited, I guess, by your own...
I don't think the gods can do much better than this. If they could, I think life and reality wouldn't be like this.
Yeah, can you imagine how boring everybody having omnipotence would be?
I think it's one of the more hotly debated things.
No.
Is it that we... Is it that we choose to have our gods be ignorant? Or is it that everything here is deliberate?
Well, I think we can answer that question with the gods, while they are very powerful and they are not all-seeing and omnipotent. And Eclipse needs to go to the loo for 1 second. Be right back.
I just imagine the cat just being like,
gets up. It's just
It's
like,
like,
ah.
here's my answer, and now I need to pee.
yeah, now to the litter box.
Her timing is just, you know, there's times where I wonder if she does it on purpose or if it's all natural, and then there's moments just like that where I know there is absolutely no way that wasn't natural, and she has absolutely no control over the chaos that she brings.
Yeah.
Lilith sits back and says it wouldn't be chaos if you could control it.
True.
Renata sits back and says, look, I will redouble my efforts. I will see what I can do. Go on, Scorm. D6, D100.
Hello, Scorm. We missed you.
Well, someone has to be here to do it. Hermit's still in the UK.
Hermit's in the UK right now.
Yeah, he's
He's on
ship.
vacation. Remember?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I knew he was on the vacation. I didn't know he was in the UK.
That's why we weren't allowed to sacrifice the UK the other day.
Ah.
You know, blood for the blood lily.
All right. Let's see.
5 and 87.
Ooh.
Hello, I'm back.
This is one we've.
Welcome back, Eclipse.
Thank you.
This is one we haven't done before.
I'm not sure how you found a litter box inside Renata's mansion, but
She has toilets. I use toilets.
I mean, she's by
Okay, this is going to be interpretive. Scorm, I need a target. The people in the room are Eclipse, Glory, Farewell. We're not going to say Cora. We'll retcon her back in later on. Lilith and Renata. I need to know who to target with this.
We're picking
Renata.
Renata.
oh no.
Ooh. How's that going to work?
Yeah, because we're in the room around.
Okay, sure. This is a subtle one. Okay. Yeah. You do just see Renata staring off into space, and she's looking at Eclipse, but kind of looking through Eclipse because she's looking at the point on the wall, and then Eclipse comes back from the litter box, and she's staring through Eclipse. So she's kind of, you don't know if she's scrying or looking through time or something like that. And Lilith says, so, armies? Armies for the Golden City, I guess?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Renata?
Renata now looks at you and goes, yeah. Yes, sorry, Eclipse. What are you on about?
Armies for the Golden City?
Yes. So, obviously, the city is willing to give a detachment. I'm willing to give a detachment as part of the Green Organisation. The Green Organisation detachment will be headed up by Hoster. I have a feeling that she would quit if I didn't let her. But the detachment from the city will need to get a good commander, and I was wondering if you would ask your young man son.
I mean, I would prefer him to be with our team rather than leading an army because I think
Well,
I think Sun would be better placed leading an army.
yeah.
That's what he's good at. And to be honest with you,
It was his job.
and the men will need the morale. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I was going to face an unseeming horde of demonic invasion that are going to be grotesque and eldritch and really scary, the 8-foot tall, ripped, godlike tabaxi that tears them in half and laughs whilst brandishing the light of Pelor would probably give me enough spine to take on the entire world. So,
And we are going to be recruiting Tabaxi. So having a Tabaxi commander who knows how to lead Tabaxi is very useful. Not to mention the fact that they're going to take back the Golden City, and their general will be the guy who led the defense of the Golden City.
yeah.
I mean, it's up to you, Eclipse. Either way, go speak to Sun. If he wants to be the one leading either the city detachment, or remember, you've got to go to Naruka and get some tabaxi organized to assail the city. The 2 detachments alone will not be enough. Maybe he will just want to go with you and lead you through the city.
yes, because we will need a guide and preferably a guide that's no offense, Lith, but can defend themselves.
Renata looks off to the side and goes, he's in the hawk and harness.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anything else you need of me? I think I've got some homework to do.
You take it easy. You're being unlike yourself. You sure you're okay?
She sits up straight, throws back her shoulders, kind of puffs out her chest, kind of saying, everyone's caught unawares. I assure you, Mr. Barebones, I am as powerful as ever.
That was the response I was looking for.
Good. In the meantime, and she stands up, walks up to the mirror that Cora stole from.
Yeah.
She reaches her hand, the mirror ripples as she puts her hand through, pulls out quite a thick tome, walks up to Farewell and says, you need to study faster. Bang! And puts this tome right in front of you.
Ah, God damn it. All right, okay, thank you. I pick it up and...
You'll find it twisting, ponderous, onerous, everything that you should enjoy.
Joy.
I have a feeling that I might be discussing magical time theory with you soon enough.
I have a feeling it's going to come down to that. Also, do you think we could get away with calling Sun the Berserker I just heard some very tiny, like, purple-colored kobolds screaming, "Beware the Berserker," and it's just stuck in my head. Like, I can't get it out.
Well, to be fair, I'm pretty sure that small blue kobolds are the harbingers of doom, so that's
Well,
probably a good sign on our invasion, if he's called that.
We're agreed, because isn't that the same tiny blue kobold that did the whole...
Yes, the came
Yeah,
in.
the curve.
And
Yeah.
the one that
Yeah.
came in and like exploded. Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Harbinger of
Renata
chaos.
says he's not around a lot. I think he comes and goes on a ship.
Yeah. But we're agreed then. We have the Berserker son that will do his
You
thing.
have to tell him that. I'm not telling him that he's
That's only
called the
'cause-
Berserker.
That's only because you want to bang him. Come on.
No. Guess I'm mean.
I mean, kind of, sort of. Definitely.
Right. Yes. And I need to go over some very, very old notes of mine. So, if that's all, come back to me if you need anything. You know where I'll be. Oh,
Indeed.
and I'm going to increase the wards on this place.
Do it.
She pulls out a...
And maybe invest in some of those invisible guards, cloaked guards of yours, just to sit in here.
They normally are here. That's
Yeah.
the disturbing thing.
Where are they? If they're not here.
She closes her eyes, concentrates for a second, and suddenly a...
I know.
right next to you, a high elf woman in a grey cloak appears next to you. I heard about the attack, Renata. I'm sorry. I should have been by your side. Renata goes, it's fine. You're on an errand. The grey cloaks are my closest, most trusted, and they are also my Hearthguard. I've sent many of them out to various errands, things that the city absolutely needs. At which point, Fish, yes, the drow that was on your ship was one of them. Last Monday, we played...
This Monday.
This Monday. Yeah, by last Monday, I mean the last Monday that happened. We did a birthday edition of The Forgotten Light where I teleported all the characters into Illyria. And they had a large ship filled with bricks of residuum that's making its way to Ostergald. And their job was to protect the ship. Which they did very, very well. And Fish had the finishing blow on a Dunkleosteus. Dunkleosteus?
Dunkleosaurus.
Dunkleosaurus, technically. It's not Saurus at the end, it's Steus, but anyway. And the person who hired them was a drow in a grey cloak.
Ah.
And it did actually say in the thing that she did have the green organization badge at her hip. It was only mentioned once, but unknown to them until they actually started it. But Felicia, Hermit, Fish, and Dave?
Hermit wasn't there.
Hermit wasn't there because he was on holiday. But yes, so Fish, Felicia, and Dave actually entered the canon as one of the crews who are making sure that Ostergard has the residuum it needs for Renata's plan.
Yep.
And that's why she doesn't have her grey cloaks. Her grey cloaks are off getting things for her. And the one that she had nearby was doing stuff in the city. Pride before a fall. And Renata says, ordinarily, I have my grey cloaks around me.
And unfortunately, these are not normal circumstances.
No, I would say that these are significantly interesting.
We got the yes, I think these things that are attacking you now has to do with the release of Karnitava, because the timing is just too perfect otherwise.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That may be true, but I don't think Karnatava or the pit is responsible. This magic that was attacking me was neither
It's tied to this event
infernal
somehow.
or abyssal. I dare say that it was the trigger of something. But no, I mean, these were shadow constructs. Very, very powerful shadow constructs. Had they been infernal or abyssal in nature, they would have been significantly easier to get rid of. They were designed to resist certain magics, resist my magics. They were designed to resist certain weaponry. Turns out that it had to be physical weaponry that did the most damage to them. Literally, that's how I would kill a mage. Anyway, I shall be keeping Alicia next to me at all times now. And the high elf, as she kind of mantles folds her arms and mantles her fingers over her arms, you can see her fingers are crackling and glowing. Alicia favors lightning magic.
Ooh.
Do you have any of your grey cloaks that specialize in physical damage?
She's on a ship.
Can you get her here?
Yes, I suppose I could.
Because I think, as much as Alicia is probably great with magic, if you're something that's going after you and is using anti-mage stuff, maybe have something that can tackle that.
Alicia kind of shrugs her shoulders, and an elegant, curved, like scimitar, beautiful high elf design, really ostentatious, shoots from her hand, and she places it on the table and says, "I'm a woman of many talents." Renata,
Oh, I'm sure.
yeah. Renata looks at her as if to say, "Calm the fuck down, wind your neck in." But not that she'd ever use that phrase, because Renata's a lady. And she says, "I suppose I could bring Vashta back." She closes her eyes and says, "Vashta, how goes the voyage?" No, that's excellent. Do you think you could entrust the crew to the final part of the voyage? Excellent. I shall teleport you here immediately. She gets up, walks into the center of the room, gestures, and a small ritual circle appears on the floor in front of her. She focuses, and suddenly there's a bending of the air. And there's still nothing there up until the point where the entire a figure shimmers like a heat shimmer. The hood goes back, and what you consider to be very grumpy drow that you met when you first realized these cloaks existed.
That's the one we're like.
There's
And
only one.
Eclipse has
we
tried
shot
to
down.
steal it from her several times.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I tried to steal it. Also, we thought they were like evil, and I think we knocked her out.
Yes, you knocked Vashta the fuck out. You got a lucky hit on her. Vashta, as she brings back the hood, looks at you all with a kind of mock rival stare, I guess. Actually, no, you don't know anything about drow. So yeah, you think that she's still giving you the eyeball. Felicia, give me an insight, aka disaster lesbian roll, please.
Perfect. My specialty.
With proficiency in disaster lesbian.
Yeah.
With proficiency in this lesbian.
I wasn't sure there were gonna be dice rolls today.
We said insight, right?
Yeah.
Insight with proficiency because disaster lesbian.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So your wisdom, which is probably not that great, but
Ah,
your proficiency.
I have proficiency in insight already, but that was not a great roll to begin with. So, wait, 14.
At 14, you get that she's not serious with being scathing. But you're questioning whether or not she's being actually flirtatious or not. You know, with Drow, that Drow flirting is not exactly straightforward. Yeah, the kind of flirting that you would do with somebody just before you kill them and just before you jump their bones is very similar in Drow society. So it's hard to tell. Yeah, it's like Adam's family flirting. You know, it's
Yeah.
a bit hard to tell. Yeah. So you're pretty sure that she's not that pissed off at you. That's just from a look. Vashta turns and says, "Why am I back here? I was on a very important mission. There's something gone wrong." And Renata was like, "I got attacked."
Yes.
And immediately Vashta turns on all of you and says, "Well, it looks like you protected her. It was you
Yes.
that protected her, right?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I killed it.
Yeah, no, Eclipse did. Yeah.
She does give you a look. Again, you can't quite tell because you haven't got proficiency in Disaster Lesbian. Where...
But
I
I think Farewell could read the whole, I'm not quite sure if she wants to jump her bone strangler or both and what order. And maybe both at the same time.
Well, I'll give you what the people who would fail insight would get. The people who would fail insight would get that when she says, "I killed them," Vashta shrugs as if to say, "So what?"
Yeah.
Right? Felicia, I will let it roll. And that is, you're kind of like, okay, she doesn't quite mean it, but I don't know why she's doing it.
Does she like Eclipse?
Maybe. We do not know because you're not a disaster lesbian.
No, Eclipse. Well, Eclipse. I don't think Eclipse minds what a gender, but she's just like, what are you bothered about, lady?
When you're covered in fur and have claws, pretty much you're, for the pink skins, pretty much either gender has got equal distance from you. You know.
Yeah,
So.
I think she prefers male tabaxi. Other races, she can take or leave it. Like they're fine.
But yeah, she's being a little bit shriveling, and she goes, "Well, it was a good job then. Did they know that we were sent away?" And Renata shrugs as if to say, "Who the fuck knows anymore?" She actually kind of flumps back in the sofa, something you've never seen Renata do. Renata has always sat down like a lady, but in front of these two, and Vashta speaks to Renata, not like Renata's her boss, but like they've known each other for years. And, Vashta, again, aging a drow compared to... You've seen lots of elves, but very little drow. There's a few in the city. Vashta maybe in her 80s, which equates to somebody maybe in their 30s. And
80s. That's like really young.
yeah, she's kind of like late 20s, early 30s in drow terms.
Like 100 is an adult. That's like 20. So she's like 18 in that case.
Oh, in that case, maybe she's like 110 then. Yeah. She's the equivalent of whatever 30 would be, but for elves. And she when she's talking to Vashta, she flumps back in the sofa like a teenager. Yeah. And, she goes, "Who the hell knows anymore?" And you can see that, with her eyes slightly glowing, Vashta just looks around the room, clearly casting some sort of, or using some sort of supernatural sense. When she looks in your direction, she's got split pupils like a beast. And immediately her eyes go back to normal. She goes, I'm staying with you. And goes up and flumps on the sofa next to Renata. Again, like pair of teens about to watch TV.
Yes, the things that attacked Renata seemed specifically to disable mages. So I asked Renata if she had any grey cloaks that were specialized in more physical damage, and she said you.
Okay. Vastra looks you in the eye and goes, I'm physical.
You can't misinterpret that.
That's actually the level of subtlety you need to go to. Well done for you finally figuring out where you needed to take this. It's only taken us all, I don't know, 10 minutes of sitting watching.
Okay!
She says it
Me?
deadpan.
Yes!
Yeah.
Deadpan.
Me?
Yes!
Well, Eclipse, I'm sure you two have lots to talk about later. Now let's go and recruit an entire army from Naruka.
Yes, let's do that. Let's go find Sun. And armies and...
And you can think deeply
Okay.
about this.
Okay! No, Glory? Me?
I mean, you did knock her out once.
I
The
did.
tail. It's always the tail. Come on.
Hey, farewell.
I would like to say that
All
none
I
of this
can
has
say
been
is
planned and
that-
has been forced upon me.
Yes. Tails are sexy. I know.
I wasn't disagreeing. I was offering an explanation.
Glory's gonna take us away, me.
Glory's got a tail that can crush a man.
Yeah.
Well, the difference is, my dear, is that some like crushed them, and others enjoyed them more. Ooh, that's quite live.
Some like people who are dangerous in bed, and other likes to be the ones who are dangerous in bed.
And you do scream, "Dom me, mummy" energy.
Glory only smiles.
I'm assuming that you're
right
saying
now.
this when you leave the room.
Oh yeah, we're
Yeah,
walking
yeah.
through the
Okay,
corridor,
right, okay.
and we're out the door, and we're sort of like doing that sort of as you're going down the stairs thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one small detail. I'm just going to get Farewell to automatically pass the perception check because he let's face it, he fucking will. As you're leaving and you're closing the door behind you, you do see that the Vashta, the drow, she does go up to Renata and kind of fussing over Renata. Just takes a piece of hair that's just come down here. She takes a piece of hair and kind of corrects the hairline on Renata. A very not necessarily tender, but it's almost wolf packish that Vashta and Renata get into each other's personal space and they don't. It's not a thing for them. They don't have personal distance. You can see how, as they flump down, Vashta was right next to Renata. How she's just moved the hair out the way. She didn't even ask consent. It just seemed very natural that they both are physical, but not in that way.
Mm.
They're just like sisters. Like, you know,
Yeah.
if there's something in your sister's hair, you don't ask. You just pluck it out your sister's hair. You don't. Yeah, a heavy bond, heavy bond. Alicia, in comparison, is very stiff. She's almost like military, leaning against the wall. She's not sitting down. She's on her feet. Okay. We will head off to Naruka, but first I would like a 10-minute break.
Yes.
So we're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we're back to the land of meatballs and kitties.
Mm.
See you then.
Huzzah!
and welcome back. When we left off, after a force greater than the DM sourced a horny drow. She wasn't horny, she was just flirtatious. Yes, we were going to Naruka. Now, you're at a stage now, both in level and reputation within the city, where you have access to the teleportation services that are between each of the cities. Teleportation Circle, the spell, has been made permanent in a number of the larger cities for you to get from one to another. Ostergald is one of the biggest and richest cities in Vardencore. And your location that you want to go to is Naruka. And that is pretty much the only Tabaxi city in the world. Tabaxi are normally a little bit xenophobic. They don't like being discovered. They are normally out of the way. They keep themselves to themselves. They trade maybe with some other beast folk in the area and some of the locals around, that they've learnt to trust around the area, but they don't like to have people come into their dwelling places. The Tabaxi Naruka, or Tabaxi Naru, sorry. Naruka is the thing. It's Tabaxi Naru is the tribe. Are the exception. They are the, I guess, almost domestic cats, but they don't look like domestic cats. They have the typical range of cattiness that you'd find in any other tribe. But their mentality is more like domestic cats. They have no problem speaking to people, getting into their shit, and we've seen that Eclipse will do things like sleep at the end of somebody's bed, or walk in whilst they're getting changed, or, whatever. Personal space is not a big thing for a Narukan. And so the city of Naruka, long time ago, was born. And it is, still to this day, the only known, as in you can travel to it, Tabaxi city. It's not just a city, of course. They ended up expanding around the area. So Olstran, which is an island just in the middle of nowhere, but a big island. Big island. I think Australia, big. Even though there are other species that live there, one part of Austran is pretty much carved out by Tabaxi. Other races live there, but the sheer density of Tabaxi just makes it a Tabaxi area. So, you start to head through the city. Is there anything you would like to do before you go to the teleportation circle?
Sun. We need to talk to Sun.
I top up on some spell components and other things that I need.
Sure. Okay.
I will need some more of the spicier ones, but I've got the gold for that.
Okay. So, you go to the Hawk and Harness, and Noki says, yes, son. I've put him in one of the guest rooms upstairs. All on Renata's payroll. So, go up. He gives you the room number. And, by all means.
Oh, I will go up and I will go in without knocking, because I assume he hasn't locked the door.
Noki goes, as you pass by, Noki goes, hang on, didn't you go to a mission recently? How did that go? And you just keep going up the stairs.
I mean, I will like, Landis can tell you, Cora can tell you.
Okay. Yes, Cora will stay behind and tell Noki about the the event. You go straight up and you're just going to barge in.
Yes, because I'm a Tabaxi and this is what we do.
Sure. You barge in and he doesn't startle or anything like that. He's lying on the bed in basically a pair of shorts, like a pair of, I guess, soft leather shorts. And he's surrounded by books.
He's probably reading up on some history of the last 1,000 years.
Yeah, you see a couple of history books. You can see that there's... and by the way, Lilith will come with you as well. When you go barging into his room, she looks not awkward, but she raises an eyebrow. I mean, she's not that awkward of walking into somebody's bedroom. I mean, succubus. But she kind of raises an eyebrow as if to go, "Oh yeah, Tabaxi, it's been a while." He's reading. You do see a couple of history books, but you can see he's got laws of the city, and he's got what seem to be like military manuals. He seems to be boning up on the on modern warfare.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, Eclipse, pleasure to see you. Please sit down." He pushes some books aside and gestures for both you and Lilith to sit on the bed.
I sit down on the bed.
Yep. He goes, "So, how's it going?"
It's going well. Renata, there was this weird attack on the Green Mansion, where,
She seems very well defended. I should imagine it wasn't much of a battle.
well, the thing is, it went past the house defenses, which was really strange because nothing should be able to do that, and it got into her room without anything else noticing. And we essentially came just in nick of time to save her. It was like resistant against magic, and it was in the end was my blade that was able to dissipate it.
Good. Well, maybe she will have some common sense. So these wizards, they put up these wards and these other things, but I say that there's still a reason to employ good bodyguards. And he kind of pats his sword, which is leaning up against the nightstand next to his bed, as in within arm's reach, and he pats the sword as if to say, my sword's here for when I get attacked. And he says, "Yes, not that magic is not the answer to everything,
Yeah.
And he lifts up the book at that point, and the book that he was currently reading is basically a treatise on modern warfare. He kind of gives a big sigh and says, "But I must admit, as magical warfare goes, or magical advancements go, I've seen some fascinating tactics here. Do you know that one of the Khantum princes is known for dropping armies at different places at will? Apparently he has a giant courtyard. He can pack a huge army into that courtyard and teleport them anywhere he wants. Anywhere. Very, very strange.
It takes a lot of power, but it is doable, especially if you have a druid. Transport via plants can do quite a lot. I think there are some that are probably better than transport via plants. Laura could tell you.
Yeah. And Lilith, wanting to be valid in this in this conversation, says, well, also there are rituals that far exceed spells. As long as you're willing to keep the rituals up, then you can attune a place so that you can teleport more people or make it easier, make it more efficient. The average adventurer on the road wouldn't be able to do this, but somebody with a large facility and a number of people at his disposal, I can absolutely believe that he would probably have some sort of large arcane installation. There was historically a gate, more like a portal, but you could choose where the other end of the portal came out. You could march entire armies through that. It was destroyed back, before the New Order, so I can't quite remember when. The New
How
Order.
do you know about the New Order, Lilith? Were you aware?
Well, I was present.
Because the New Order was after Jordan.
Yes, and I was succubus well before that.
Yes, but I mean, you were in jars during the New Order.
Yes, but I was in the jars. I was still aware of certain things.
Okay.
The fundamental change of time and space in the universe, I would have felt that even on an instinctive level.
Yes. I'm surprised we were able to uncover as much as we do about Jordan with the New Order, but it seems like they left that period of history intact.
I think that was mostly down to those who I left to investigate. They would have carried on their work even if they had some of their memories lost. And who knows, maybe the gods smiled on them. The gods created the New Order after all. So, and Sun was like, so, I presume that, is this just a social call?
As fun as that would be, unfortunately, we do have a golden city we need to save. And
Yes, I hadn't forgotten.
yes, yes, it's
Yeah.
quite
As in,
important to
the
you.
number one cause on his mind, yeah.
Yes. Now, I have a question of what you want your role to be in this. Now, my personal preference is that you go with me, Glory, Farewell, and Cora, possibly Lilith. I don't know what you want to, if you want to join us.
Lilith says, I'll be with you.
Yeah.
If you're going to be going straight for him, that's where I'm going.
Yeah. If you want to be in our task group, going specifically for Jordan,
Sun sits up and goes, well, of course.
yeah.
Who else is going to get you through the city faster than I? No offense, Lilith, but Lilith spent most of her time at the palace. She did not wander the streets. She could not wander the streets. She was effectively royalty. Whereas a soldier like me could walk through the city unimpeded.
This is why I was thinking that would be my preference. There was also the suggestion, if you wanted to, you could lead one of the armies. But the armies, I think you'd probably be a great commander, but I think your role would probably fit better as our defender and guide going to Jordan.
He points at the military journals, and he says, "Well, yes, it is my intention to become a commander. Once again, I would like to prove to myself that I'm worthy. But not yet. No, you're correct. We need to have an advance party and strike teams to come into the Golden City as and when we need to. My recommendation would be that we go into the Golden City ourselves. We go in as part of stealth. We get as much information we can without going too far into the city. Once we have an idea of what we're up against, we then double back, decide on how we want to lay out our attack, and deploy the forces as necessary.
Yes, that very good idea. This is why I went to
Once we've deployed the forces, we ourselves will continue on as a scout. We will be able to tell the various forces what to look out for as they progress through the city, and we ourselves keep going closer and closer to my sovereign.
Yes.
And he looks at Lilith with a hurt look in his eyes, but she gives him like a kindly look in return.
Yes. Oh, I want to read this thing to you, son, and see. I want you to tell me what this means to you.
Okay.
The heart is the heart is a work of the gods entrusted to the heroes who will face a great evil. The heart will be sewn into very fabric of reality, forged in time and space, to exist and persist by the will of the gods. It shall awaken a god lost to Ilaria and call it back to the heavens. Jordan shall not know the heart when he sees it, but he will name the heart once he recognizes it. Jordan will fight with the heart against the great evil, and shall be his last battle. Not once used, the heart shall no longer be owned, not by Jordan or by any other.
It all sounds very prophecy-like. It seems very religious. These things. I would get a scholar that is accustomed to these things, somebody who has studied prophecy. Maybe a very well learned cleric.
Could, yeah. I mean, probably the best place to ask this is in Naruka, where they have more information, because this is obviously about the heart of Jordan.
But it does give me some hope. You say Jordan will fight with the heart.
Yes.
Against the great evil, and it shall be his last battle?
Yes, which I assume after he's done that, he will be then able to be laid properly to rest.
It means that he has one more fight left.
Yes.
This is the best news I've heard in a very long time.
Yes. Which tells us he's probably not completely gone at the moment.
One would hope. So, and he leaps off the bed, as only a cat can. His tail twitches. What else? What can we do?
Well, we need to go to Naruka and raise an army.
Now that sounds like something I can help with. He snatches his clothes, starts dressing, and
You sit there.
he looks at the armor that you can see. He's got like an armor stand. He looks at the armor, looks thoughtfully, and then puts it on.
Yeah.
And then kind of goes, And they're going to know that I'm not from Naruka. At least not the Naruka they know. Picks up his sword. No. And that will help us. Let's go. For the rest of you, Eclipse comes back down, and very much the epic warrior in void armor, with this gigantic sword. When Sun comes down the stairs, you can see even the regulars stop to look at him. This guy's huge. I think he has described it as huge as he was. He wasn't as big as Jordan. So,
big kitty cat.
To the docks, and he goes to walk out.
Yeah. I will call Gloria and Fowl to...
Well, they were in the bar when you came down.
Yeah.
That's why I described him coming down. Looking decisiveness.
The docks!
He goes to the docks and walks out and starts walking towards the docks.
There's a quicker way.
He goes, a quicker way to the docks? It's right by there.
Oh no, we're heading to the university.
So, how we've been...
It's easier to just teleport, Do
you know how we've been teleporting everywhere?
He's
teleported with us several times.
Yeah, he huffs and goes, Wizards. Okay. We'll take your way. He looks kind of almost longingly at the dock. You have a feeling he probably hasn't been on many boats. Bear in mind, he came across from Naruka to the mainland and then did a huge progression and then basically became Wrath. So he's been on like one boat.
One boat.
He wants to be on more boats.
You have a feeling he may have romanticized his trip going back, that he would be there watching the city of Naruka, which is on the coast, coming up, and him there at the front of a ship and all the rest of it. But instead, he's going to stand in a circle and go pop. Kind of messing with his jam, yeah?
Yeah.
So, by the way, Nick, can you hear us?
I'm struggling a little bit because my connection's going up and then
Okay.
down and then up
Okay.
and then down.
Because I
It's a
can't see you,
little-
I can't gauge you. So yeah.
It's a little hard for me to sort of think, and I'm trying not to talk as well, just in case I come through like full screechy, ear destroying robot voice.
Okay. As long as you're there and you can jump in when you want.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. No, it's just that this is Eclipse's shining moment, so I'm quite happy to let Eclipse
Well,
shine.
this is for everybody as well, because this is the challenge. You go into the university. At this point, no one's even surprised to see you there anymore. They don't even wave you through anymore. They just let you pass. You walk into teleportation circle, and you've had the shitty wizards who are kind of like, you can't just come and go as you please, and they just don't bother with that argument anymore. As you walk up to them, they're like, yep, sure, you'll be next, kind of thing. Take a seat over there. A bunch of, what would it be? Scholars that in the current weather is way overdressed. Way overdressed. They've got kind of heavy wooden jewelry. They're all very even the humans of this group are very heavy set, muscular. Yeah. You can see all the men have beards. And a lot of the women's hair is big and long and a lot of volume. And they kind of they do take a look at you. There's two tabaxi. One of them's wearing really cool armor. There's a genasi and a woman who's part dragon. So you are, for somebody who isn't native in Ostergald, a very strange sight. And a few of them just kind of gawp at you a bit before going into the chamber. The two large doors open. They walk in, and they get into the middle of the circle. And as another wizard comes forward and goes, "What have we got?" And he goes, "Nostra. Okay, no problem. All right, let's close the doors, everyone." We close the doors, and there's this little boom, and the doors open again, and they're not there. All there is the wizard holding the paperwork. I don't think we... Oh, it's you. Come on,
Naruka today.
Of course. Lunch or something?
No, we're gonna recruit an army this time.
Oh, fancy that. Please.
Yeah.
Come on in. You all stand in the middle of the teleportation circle, and they go, I assume green account again?
Of course, yes.
Okay. Hold tight, everyone. He's not over-explaining it at all anymore. He's just, hold tight, everyone. There's that pulling in your stomach, and poof, you're in a similar-looking room. The doors, even before the doors open, you can see this lithe ocelot-type tabaxi in front of you who goes, "Oh, it's you again. Hello."
Hello.
I don't think I've met you before. And Sun kind of there, a good head and shoulders taller than this fucking ocelot, goes, "No, you haven't. But you're about to."
Susan. He's from the Golden City.
And the ocelot looks at you as if you're... He looks almost hurt, as if you're joshing him. He kind of looks at you and goes...
And this is Lilith, also from the Golden City.
It's been a bit of a full week for her. Just smile and nod. Smile and nod.
The ocelot turns around and he goes, "Okay,
I'm not joking, by the way.
I am Valley,
She's
and I'm from here. Welcome to Nuruka." And he gestures at the doors. The doors open, and that cacophony of sound of the Naruka City Hall spills in, and there's a moment that you see in Sun's face as the doors open, and there's just this throng of tabaxi, And you can see that his chest rises and falls in a kind of just after you've cried kind of way, this kind of thing. But that's all the emotion he shows as, he squares his shoulders, cracks his neck, brings himself up to his full height and starts to walk forward.
Don't worry about her. The last fight we had, one too many punches to the head.
And
You're not helping, Farewell!
the Ocelot says, well, that's adventuring for you. And you have a feeling that his adventuring probably was from library to library.
Indeed.
Yeah, that was his travel. That was his wanderlust, was library to library and school to school. Sun strides forward like a triumphant conqueror into the throng. And this is the point where you realise you've not met a tabaxi that tall before. You always knew that he was a big boy. But now that he walks into the throng, the nearest tabaxi that's the tallest tabaxi you can see other than him comes up to like his eyebrow. Yeah? And they aren't anywhere near as thick as he is. Yeah? Solid muscle. And not only that...
yeah, it's hard to get as thick as he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like generations pit fighting thick. And with that impressive frame, with the void armor as well, no tabaxi really dresses up as a knight. Some of them wear like bits of plate, and there is tabaxi plate. But he's dressed like a juggernaut, And as he steps in, you notice that this huge, bustling city hall, tabaxi talking over each other and saying, "No, I'm telling you that this is the way it needs to be," and they're all just talking over each other, pressed in together, and almost like a ripple effect. There's still tabaxi talking because try and stop them. But a good 70% of them have stopped talking and are wondering who this impressive figure is. And he's just looking around. He's breathing in the scent, this thick, hot, spiced air. And he's just drawing it in as if trying to remember a long forgotten dream. When you catch up with him, he goes, "The temple should be the first place.
Yes.
Let's go."
Also, son, welcome home.
He looks back and says, "I think I'm going to like it here."
Oh, you'll love it here.
I'll take it to see my parents later.
Walking through the city hall, typical zero control tabaxi. Kids run up to him and ask, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm stares at the sun." At which point, a lot of the kids turn around and say what their names are. It's kind of like, "Oh, I'm," and and he turns around and says, "I shall have to remember that name. You're a strong boy. I can see that you're going to achieve great things." And the boy kind of like, "Yeah," kind of thing. A small girl tabaxi just suddenly climbs up the side of the wall because she can't see him, and she's there hanging off the wall looking at him, and he rips off a very sharp salute to her, and she goes to salute and then realizes that she's only got one hand on the wall now, and the claws are starting to bite into the plasterwork, and quickly puts the other claw on the wall. And he gives a smile, a little wink to her, and all the rest of it. And she smiles, but her tail twitches at the same time.
Glory will lean over to Eclipse and say, "And he's good with kids."
So, do you want me to date Sun or the drow girl?
Why not both?
Most people are not
the most glory sentence. I'm sorry, was there a choice? I don't recall there being a choice, just 2 recommendations.
Yeah.
You go out into the street, and the bustle continues. Again, you've got Tabaxi who are just talking with each other, very kind of outside cafe kind of style. There's people shouting across the road to each other and saying, "Oh, I'll speak to you tomorrow," kind of thing. And the city just continues. Even though there are carts and things like that, a lot of Tabaxi just choose to run through the streets. It's something that you don't see much of in the city. People walk. Tabaxi don't really like walking. They run a lot. Yeah. If you're walking and talking with friends, of course you would walk. But if you have a place to go, just all the adrenaline that just happens to be in the feline form, you just run everywhere. And so that's something that, is second nature to Eclipse. But the rest of you pick up on this. And it's Lilith who turns around and says, "There's a touch of the Golden City here." And Sun turned around and said, "No, there's a touch of here in the Golden City." He carries on walking towards the most noticeable landscape. A spire that comes out of the city. It's up on a hill, so as the city kind of sprawls around it, there's a rise, so like a kind of a hill. And on the top of that hill is a single spike, single obelisk that goes up into the air. It shines like gold in the sun. But at the base of that spike, there is a compound, and then what looks to be a giant borehole that goes into the mound and, as far as you're aware, further down into the earth. As you get closer, you can see that there's these 2 large walls, but the walls don't go all the way around. They kind of, almost in a heart shape, like an open heart shape, get about this far. And then between that is the largest entrance ever. I mean, it's the size of a small town, large village in width. And there's a giant courtyard, a giant pilgrimage ground where you can see that there's a lot of Tabaxi priests. There's a few outbuildings, which most of you know is for like education. It's kind of like schools. And then there's a kind of canopy underneath the spike. There's kind of a canopy that's over the borehole itself. And as you go up to it, the borehole has lots of staircases, spiraling staircases that go the length of, around the perimeter of the borehole and descend into darkness below. Well, I say darkness. This darkness punctuated by torches, ever-burning flames, floating, glowing crystals, things like that. And you can see as you look down into the borehole, although it does give you a weird sense of vertigo because it's huge, you can see that the staircases themselves, as they go down, themselves are punctuated with what do you call it? Balconies. And so, it's not just a single circle that goes all the way down. It has all this kind of weird pattern as you look down into the borehole of all these different balconies and things and places to be. You do see that some of the priests actually don't bother walking down the stairs because they have to get somewhere quicker, and will kind of jump in the air and slow fall down. And the ones who do that seem to be going quite deep down into the borehole. Well, this hasn't changed one bit. It's good to see. Although I dare say that is deeper now. And
yes.
He starts heading towards the borehole. As he does so, a priest steps forward. Hello.
Hello.
I am the priestess Emerald. How can I help you today?
Hi. I'm Cliff the Moon. This is Stairs at the Sun. This is Lilith. This is Glory. This is Farewell.
Hi.
Welcome to you all.
So I have been on the path for quite a while now.
The path?
The path to the heart Jordan.
That path. There are many paths. But
Yeah,
of
there are many
course, you
paths.
should imagine that there's only one path. Yes, okay. So you have been, yes, a much studied subject. Very, very interesting. Yes.
Yes. I know where the city is now.
Oh, so you solved the millennia long mystery. Well, that's good. I was hoping somebody would do that at some
Yes.
point. And so young as well.
Yes. And this is San. As I said, this is San. He is from the Golden City.
Son. Waves.
He was the general for Jordan.
Oh,
And
good.
here's Lilith, the succubus turned normal.
The second you say Lilith goes, the consort of Joratan the Great, and she will just talk over you at that point. And the priest goes, okay, so you went on the path, you found the city, and you got a Golden City soldier, and Jordan the Great's girlfriend. Fantastic.
Yes.
You have a feeling she doesn't quite believe you.
I have a feeling you don't quite believe me. Is there a way I can prove this to you, lady?
She looks at you and goes,
Emerald.
you realize there's no way of faking this testimony, yes?
Yes.
I assure you, she's telling the truth.
She looks at you and kind of goes, okay, her I get, but you seem sensible. And
No, honestly, she's telling the truth. Everything she just told you, absolutely the truth. We've all seen it. We've not been there yet, but we've all seen it. And these people are exactly who they say they are. They're not one of them is a charlatan.
she looks at you and kind of holds your gaze for a while and goes, if you are lying, Archpriestess Scepter will not be pleased with me
Archpriestess
or
Scepter
you.
Archpriestess Scepter is welcome to put us under a zone of truth, to do any sort of mind reading, anything to.
I have a feeling she shall be doing exactly that.
Yeah.
Oh, here now, Ayun's name, and you can see she's not processed it enough to be excited yet. She goes,
Also, we need an army to take back the Golden City.
of course,
Why
of
we-
course, yeah, that's
that's
okay.
why we're here.
We do that kind of thing every day. The sarcasm dripping off Emerald's speech. You have a feeling she's been a door priest for too long, certainly longer than she was willing to be. And she goes, come with me. She takes you down many flights of stairs, taking you on what's known as the Pilgrim Route. And that is that you're supposed to be going down this long, ridiculous staircase into the dark. And she stops at a balcony that has a kind of leaving the sides of the borehole. It kind of goes off into caverns. You have been down here before. That's where you found Sashul. The entrance that goes out of the borehole proper is quite ornate. And standing carved, standing in the wall at this point, is a depiction of a genderless figure wearing what seems to be like a monk's robe, and I don't mean like combat monk. I mean like Benedictine monk robe. The figure has a featureless face. However, is presenting an open book, and that book has an eye. Yeah. like almost like a Sauron level eye that stretches across the book, and the eye is made out of some sort of precious stones, or maybe kind of stained glass. You're not quite sure. You know it's Ioun, but you know it's old. Ioun hasn't been depicted like this in a very, very, very long time. Normally, what you see, especially in twin churches of Ioun and Arathis, normally the churches will be like kind of conjoined twins, and it will have two large statues, and you will have Arathis, who will have kind of like scales or coin or bushel of wheat or something like that showing civilization. And Ioun will normally be stood there, again, genderless for the most part. Although more accurately, the gender is Ioun's choice at that time. So flickers between pronouns. And will normally have a closed book, but not the featureless face. The face will actually have a kind of, I guess, kind of a squared face. Yeah. In this case, you can see how old this place is. You get taken in, and you go through a number of antechambers and things like that until Emerald knocks on the door, and they say, "Who is it?" Archpriestess breaks the scepter. I have what I believe is a significant find, so much so that it caught your attention. Quite the claim to make. I should come and see this find. Where is it? I brought it. Brought it here. It is.
Hello.
It is going. They can come in if you will it. Bring in these finds of yours. And the doors open, and carved into this part of the cavern is a very beautiful kind of walnut-lined chamber. And sat at a desk writing is a Tabaxi female. And you can see she's sat in a senator's chair, which allows the tail to go over the back. And this is a large working area. You can see that there's like a study area and like a kind of like a social area where you can sit down and talk and all the rest of it. And she looks up and says, yes, please come on in. And she signs the document, gets some powder, sprinkles it over the top, blows the powder, rolls up the scroll, concentrates on it, and the scroll disappears. Okay. First of all, I believe introductions are in order. And Emerald says, yes, breaks the scepter. This is Eclipse of the Moon, stares at the sun. Glory, I believe, Lilith, and Farewell Bearbones. And, Scepter nods at you all and says, very well. Please, gestures at a stone table, because some artifacts are very, very heavy. It says, please, place your artifact upon the...
Okay, Sun and Lilith go sit on the table.
Sun, being quite playful, skips up and jumps on the table and smiles straight at her. At which point she goes, oh, really? You are the artifact? At which point he says, well, of course. Technically speaking, I'm hundreds of years old. And,
Thousands.
yeah. Scepter says, so are many elves? He goes, I'm older than most elves. She goes, interesting armor. Yes, it was made for me by a friend. How are you an artifact?
As he's from the Golden City.
He was a general in the Golden City.
Yeah, he's one of Durdan's generals.
Shoots back and forth like only a cat can, like you're playing with laser pointers, and she goes, gestures, and there's a sudden. Say that again.
He's a
one of
general
Jur-
from the Golden City.
He was one of Jurdan's right-hand men.
And this is Jordan's girlfriend, Lilith. Courtesan.
And she turns around and goes, kind of eyeballs both Lilith and San and goes, "Is this true?" And Lilith goes, "Yes, I am the true love of Jordan, that who you know as Jordan the Great." And San goes, "And I was his most loyal general." And she goes, "I'm just going to check something."
So we're not deluded.
Walks up to a crystalline structure that's on a bench, kind of whispers something to it. It goes, "Whoa." She goes, "Nope, that's working. That's working." Okay. How?
Do you want the long version or the short version?
The
Oh,
very
please,
short
Eclipse, as
version.
if you would ever say the short version.
The very short version, because I have a feeling the follow-up story is going to be kind of long.
Okay. So you know the path of Jordan, the path to the heart of Jordan.
I know of the pilgrimage that hundreds of tabaxi take. Yes.
Yes. So you need to collect the canopic jars. I've collected all 6 of them. The 6th one was guarded by. They were all named after the 7 deadly sins. Only there were 6 of them. And the final one was Wrath. They were all somehow tied to one of the Jordan's connections, either general or whatever. Some of them were long dead. One of them was in a book. I have the book here. His consciousness is in the book. Then we went to, but Wrath here, or Sun, was in some sort of like weird limbo stage where he was reliving the same day over and over and over and wasn't aging, and he was essentially killing different pit fiends every day, which it was some weird magical limbo demi-plane hinky shit.
Okay.
That's why he's here. And then when I had all the canopic jars, we pushed him off the table and they crashed, and then they found Lilith here. She's the one who gained us. Do you know the story of Lilith and how she gained a soul?
No, there is no story about a Lilith that gains a soul.
Anyway.
Really?
No. She sits down at a desk and goes, "You're not deluded. Because sometimes that can get past the lie detector. You say that you're the real deal."
Well,
She stands
yeah.
up and arches her back in a way that only a tabaxi can, and says, "Well, I have God's gifts, so I guess, Ayun, let's go." And she goes up, puts her hand on Sun's shoulder as she does so, and she underneath like the pauldron, she kind of puts it on his skin, and suddenly her eyes, and you can see this kind of golden light coming out of her eyes. "I just saw the Golden City. You're real."
Yes, that is
Yes.
what we've been telling you.
Now we need an army to retake the Golden City.
Looks at Lilith and goes, "May I?" And Lilith seems to have a mischievous look on her face, and she goes, "Why not?" Gestures her hand out, and when there's this flash, the flash disappears, and suddenly Septa goes, "Oh! Oh! and is just staring into space for a full minute.
What did you show her? Did you show her some freaking... Did you show private time with Jordan?
Lilith turns around and says,
Flip.
spoilers. But... And she turns around and grabs Eclipse by the arms. Almost like she's about to shake her. And she goes,
Yes.
you completed the path?
I haven't completely completed it. I need to finish it. I need to actually get the Heart of Jordan, but pretty much, yeah.
The path was not to Jordan, it's to the city. You're saying that you can get to the city. And her head lashes towards Lilith and goes, you can get to the city. And Lilith says, yes, I can get you to the city.
She's the key.
And she just sits down on the floor. About 20 minutes of her kind of babbling later, kind of trying to figure things out, she stands up and goes, we're going to the city. The city.
Indeed.
Has another quick moment and goes, but the army must comprise of the right people. There are things in the Golden City that need to come back to the temple. We cannot have just any marauders going in there and breaking things. We need to go in and preserve it. The people who are fighting must understand and respect what we are doing.
Which is why we came to you first.
Okay.
I mean, you were just the first ones who greeted us that actually listened to me, but sure. Let's pretend I went here intentionally.
I am a member of the council. We shall recruit immediately. But before this, we need to present... And she looks around and goes... And looks at Sun. Clearly the most impressive by far. You. We should present you to the people.
Good plan. Good idea. Good
Yes,
choice.
he's good for presenting.
Clips.
What?
Oh, she just speaks her mind. It's fine. We're getting used to it.
What? Did you guys read into everything I say?
Emerald was left outside. And Scepter walks up and opens up the doors. Emerald's still there. Because she wants to know if she's in trouble or not. And
Valid.
while she was there, she seemed to have collected a few more tabaxi. Like, there's nearly 20 of them. And they're all priests. All priests of Ayun. And they're just waiting. And Scepter goes, yes. And Emerald falls on the floor. Mostly in relief.
Told you.
Go. Spread the word. You don't need to know specifics. Just spread the word.
We're taking back the Golden City. That's the words. Go.
As they're scurrying away, when you say that, they look back. A few of them look back while still walking and fall over each other. Get back up as a way that only a cat can, indignant, saying that didn't happen. That did not happen. And they all look at you, and then they all dash off in different directions. You notice a few of them actually end up, instead of running up or down the stairs of the borehole, end up doing other things. Like one of them just leaps into the air and flies off. Another one turns into a full-blown mountain lion and starts running up the side of the borehole. Scepter says, tomorrow, we present you in front of the people. And then the people decide. You know that when Naruka go to war, or Naruka make any major changes, the council makes small changes, little administrative changes that Tabaxi would just be bored of, and it's like, boo, nerd, why are you bothering me with this stuff? That's what the council. That's what the council's responsible for. Any big decisions like this, it's decided in a very strangely democratic way, and that is, they go to the giant marketplace and they shout it off a rooftop, and they gauge the reception of the Narukas, the Naru below. Naruka is the city, Naru is the people. And that's what's going to happen next session. There will be... Sun will... first of all, Scepter will introduce Sun. Sun will talk. And then after that, you all have a chance to address the Naru. A little bit of a role-playing challenge.
Yeah.
Where you try to reason, bait, seduce, charm, and otherwise get the Naru on your side. The better you do, the bigger effect that it will have when you get to the Golden City. Okay? So the little bit of brain homework is, if you were to try to convince a city of thousands of Tabaxi to go to the Golden City and fight for you, how would you convince them? Okay.
Laser pointer.
Laser pointer all the way to the Golden City.
Yeah.
Right. That, I think, is a good place to end the session. Hopefully next session we'll have Kate back as well. I will set her the same the same thing. How would you convince an entire city of Tabaxi, or entire small country? It's like Vatican City, only with cats. How would you convince an entire nation, an entire tribe of Tabaxi to go to the Golden City and fight alongside you? Okay. Until then, thank you very much, everybody in the chat. Thank you, Scumfuse, for letting me try out the... and I'm going to actually name it. This is the Wild Magic May Kindness Surge that I found from Homebrew Quest. I did explain this to the players in chat, but you rolled between 87 and 88. It was 87, I believe. You feel compelled to introduce two friends or connections you think you'll get on well together. And that's what prompted the drow to come back and the various chaos that started with that. We will be raiding after I go to the goodbye screen. But until then, if you have enjoyed our particular brand of chaos, please, by all means, if you're still using Twitter, tweet about it. If not, just talk to us in Discord. There's going to be a lot of Benefactor content coming up that's not going to feature these guys. I've mentioned it once before, but I'm going to be doing one-shots as Ostergal prepares for war. So if you would like to become part of the Benefactor canon, to be somebody in Ostergald who is going out on missions to go get things that Ostergald needs, or maybe finding corruption within the city and eliminating it prior to the architect's return, or maybe you'll be on a ship or something like that. I've got a few one-shots that I can throw people into at various levels in D&D. If you haven't played much D&D before, you can come in on one of the low ones. If you're accustomed to D&D, come in on one of the level 7 or level 9 one-shots. Show us your builds and help in the war effort against the eventual attack by the architect. Until then, have a fantastic weekend. Don't be a stranger. Talk to us on the Discord. Have fun. Play games together. And have a good night. Good night.